Welcome to Z Cineplex, say your ultimate entertainment destination. Welcome to Z Cineplex, the home of entertainment, creativity, and cinematic excitement. Our channel is dedicated to bringing viewers a rich collection of engaging content that celebrates the world of movies, storytelling, and visual entertainment. Whether you're a passionate film enthusiast, someone who enjoys discovering new cinematic experiences, or simply looking for high-quality entertainment, Z Cineplex is designed to be your go-to destination. We strive to create content that is informative, enjoyable, and engaging for audiences of all ages, offering a unique blend of movie-related features, entertainment updates, insightful discussions, creative videos, and much more. Every upload is crafted with attention to quality, ensuring that our viewers receive an enjoyable experience that keeps them coming back for more. At Z Cineplex, we believe that cinema is more than just watching films. It's about experiencing emotions, exploring stories, appreciating creativity, and connecting with people who share the same passion for entertainment. Our mission is to build a vibrant community where movie lovers and entertainment enthusiasts can discover exciting content, share their opinions, and stay connected with the latest trends in the entertainment industry. We are committed to consistently improving our content, embracing new ideas, and delivering videos that entertain, inform, and inspire our growing audience. Whether you're here for movie highlights, entertainment discussions, reviews, cinematic moments, or fresh creative content, Z Cineplex promises an enjoyable journey filled with excitement, quality, and unforgettable entertainment. Join our community by subscribing, turning on notifications, and becoming part of the Z Cineplex family as we continue to explore the fascinating world of cinema and entertainment together. Thank you for your support, and welcome to Z Cineplex, wherever video brings entertainment to life. Avengers: Endgame is a 2019 American superhero epic film based on the Marvel Comics superhero team The Avengers, produced by Marvel Studios and distributed by Walt Disney Studios Motion Pictures. It serves as the direct sequel to Avengers: Infinity War, 2018, the culmination of the Marvel Cinematic Universe's MCU, Infinity Saga, and the 22nd feature film in the franchise. Directed by Anthony and Joe Russo from a screenplay by Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, the film represents the culmination of more than a decade of interconnected storytelling that began with Iron Man, 2008. Widely regarded as one of the most ambitious crossover events ever produced, the film brings together the narratives, characters, and themes established across 21 previous MCU installments into a single, emotionally driven conclusion. Featuring one of the largest ensemble casts assembled for a motion picture, the film stars Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Mark Ruffalo, Chris Hemsworth, Scarlett Johansson, Jeremy Renner, Don Cheadle, Paul Rudd, Brie Larson, Karen Gillan, Danai Gurira, Benedict Wong, Jon Favreau, Bradley Cooper, Gwyneth Paltrow, and Josh Brolin, alongside numerous returning actors from earlier Marvel films in both major and cameo roles. The story follows the surviving Avengers and their allies as they attempt to recover from the devastating aftermath of Avengers: Infinity War, in which the intergalactic warlord Thanos successfully collected all 6 Infinity Stones and wiped out half of all life in the universe with the single snap of his fingers. 5 years after this catastrophic event, the remaining heroes devise an audacious time heist, traveling into the past to recover earlier versions of the Infinity Stones, restore the vanished population, and confront Thanos in one final battle that will determine the fate of existence itself. Blending science fiction, action, drama, humor, and emotional character development, the film explores themes of sacrifice, grief, redemption, family, legacy, hope, and the consequences of heroism, while providing definitive conclusions to several of the MCU's most beloved characters. Development of Avengers: Endgame began in October 2014, when Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige announced the project as Avengers: Infinity War 8 Part 2, intended to serve as the second half of a 2-film adaptation of Marvel Comics' Infinity storyline. However, Marvel later abandoned the 2-part title after determining that each film would tell its own complete story while remaining closely connected. In April 2015, Anthony and Joe Russo officially signed on to direct both Infinity War and its sequel following the critical and commercial success of Captain America, The Winter Soldier, 2014, and Captain America, Civil War, 2016. 1 month later, longtime Marvel collaborators Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely were hired to write the screenplay. Rather than simply creating another large-scale superhero spectacle, the filmmakers approached Endgame as the emotional conclusion to the Infinity Saga, carefully crafting a narrative that would reward audiences who had followed the Marvel Cinematic Universe for over a decade. The screenplay was specifically designed to provide satisfying endings for characters such as Tony Stark, Iron Man, Steve Rogers, Captain America, Natasha Romanoff, Black Widow, and Thor, while simultaneously laying the groundwork for future stories. Through its time travel narrative, the film revisits numerous defining moments from earlier MCU entries, including The Avengers, 2012, Thor, The Dark World, 2013, Captain America, The Winter Soldier, 2014, Guardians of the Galaxy, 2014, and Doctor Strange, 2016, allowing audiences to revisit iconic scenes from new perspectives while incorporating returning actors, locations, costumes, and memorable dialogue. This structure transformed the film into both a direct sequel and a celebration of the Marvel Cinematic Universe's first 11 years, rewarding longtime viewers with countless callbacks, emotional reunions, and references spanning the franchise's history. Principal photography commenced in August 2017 at Pinewood Atlanta Studios in Fayette County, Georgia, under the working title Mary Lou 2, with production taking place simultaneously and back-to-back with Avengers, Infinity War. The decision to shoot both films together enabled Marvel Studios to maintain narrative continuity and efficiently coordinate one of the largest ensemble casts in Hollywood history. Filming concluded in January 2018, with additional photography and reshoots taking place throughout 2018 in locations including the Atlanta metropolitan area, New York State, Scotland, and England. Cinematographer Trent Opalock once again collaborated with the Russo brothers, employing advanced digital cinematography techniques to capture both intimate dramatic scenes and enormous visual effects-driven action sequences. The production relied upon thousands of artists from multiple international visual effects companies to create the film's expansive environments, digital characters, time travel sequences, and the climactic Battle of Earth, which became one of the most technically ambitious action sequences ever produced. Alan Silvestri returned to compose the musical score after previously scoring The Avengers, 2012, and Avengers, Infinity War, 2018, delivering one of the most acclaimed soundtracks in the MCU, highlighted by emotionally resonant compositions such as Portals, The Real Hero, and Main on End. Marvel Studios officially revealed the title Avengers, Endgame in December 2018 through the release of the film's first teaser trailer, which generated unprecedented online viewership and anticipation. With an estimated production budget between $356 million and $400 million, excluding marketing expenses, Endgame ranks among the most expensive films ever produced and represents one of the largest financial investments in Hollywood history. Avengers, Endgame held its world premiere at the Los Angeles Convention Center on April 22, 2019, before receiving an international rollout and a theatrical release in the United States on April 26, 2019, as the climactic installment of Phase 3 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The film immediately became a global cultural event, attracting enormous media attention, record-breaking advance ticket sales, sold-out screenings, and widespread discussion across social media platforms. Critics overwhelmingly praised the film for successfully delivering an emotionally satisfying conclusion to more than a decade of interconnected storytelling while maintaining the humor, spectacle, and character-driven storytelling that had become hallmarks of the MCU. Particular acclaim was directed toward Anthony and Joe Russo's confident direction, Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely's emotionally rich screenplay, Alan Silvestri's triumphant orchestral score, the spectacular visual effects, ambitious action sequences, and the performances of the ensemble cast. Robert Downey Jr.'s portrayal of Tony Stark, Iron Man, was especially celebrated, with many critics describing it as the emotional heart of the film and one of the defining superhero performances of the modern era. Chris Evans likewise received widespread praise for bringing Steve Rogers' decade-long journey to a deeply satisfying conclusion, while Scarlett Johansson, Chris Hemsworth, Mark Ruffalo, Jeremy Renner, Josh Brolin, and Paul Rudd were also recognized for delivering some of their strongest performances in the franchise. Reviewers praised the film's successful balance of large-scale blockbuster spectacle with intimate character drama, highlighting its exploration of grief, sacrifice, redemption, perseverance, and hope. The climactic Avengers Assemble sequence, Captain America's confrontation with Thanos, the arrival of the restored heroes through Doctor Strange's portals, Tony Stark's ultimate sacrifice, and Steve Rogers' emotional farewell were widely regarded as some of the most memorable and emotionally powerful moments in superhero cinema. Many critics hailed Endgame as one of the greatest superhero films ever made, describing it as a landmark achievement in franchise filmmaking and one of the most successful examples of long-form serialized storytelling in cinematic history. Commercially, Avengers: Endgame became an unprecedented worldwide phenomenon, shattering box office records almost immediately after its release. The film earned approximately $1.2 billion worldwide during its opening weekend, becoming the first motion picture in history to surpass the $1 billion mark globally during its debut. It broke the previous worldwide opening weekend record by an extraordinary margin while setting new records across North America, China, Europe, Latin America, and numerous other international markets. Within only 11 days, the film surpassed the entire lifetime worldwide theatrical gross of Avengers: Infinity War. It ultimately concluded its theatrical run with approximately $2.799 billion worldwide, including $858.4 million in the United States and Canada and $1.941 billion from international territories, making it one of the highest-grossing films ever released. During its theatrical run, Endgame established numerous industry records, including the biggest worldwide opening weekend, the largest single-day and single-weekend grosses in multiple territories, the fastest film to reach virtually every major worldwide box office milestone from $500 million to $2.5 billion, and the highest-grossing release in numerous international markets. From July 2019 until March 2021, the film held the title of the highest-grossing film of all time, surpassing James Cameron's Avatar, 2009, before Avatar reclaimed the record following a theatrical re-release in China. Despite no longer holding the top position, Endgame remains among the few films in history to surpass $2.7 billion worldwide and continues to rank as one of the most commercially successful films ever produced. The film also achieved widespread recognition throughout awards season, receiving nominations and honors from major film organizations around the world. At the 92nd Academy Awards, it earned a nomination for Best Visual Effects, recognizing its groundbreaking digital artistry and large-scale visual achievements. It also received nominations from the British Academy Film Awards, BAFTA, Critics' Choice Awards, Saturn Awards, People's Choice Awards, Teen Choice Awards, Kids' Choice Awards, and the Visual Effects Society Awards, among many others. The film won multiple honors recognizing its visual effects, ensemble cast, blockbuster entertainment value, and technical accomplishments, further cementing its status as one of the defining cinematic achievements of the decade. Beyond its awards recognition, Endgame had a profound cultural impact, becoming a global pop culture phenomenon that generated countless online discussions, fan theories, viral moments, and record-breaking audience engagement. Its emotional conclusion to the Infinity Saga significantly influenced subsequent franchise filmmaking by demonstrating the commercial and creative potential of long-form interconnected cinematic storytelling. In recognition of the film's enduring popularity and to celebrate the continuing evolution of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Marvel Studios announced Avengers: Endgame Encore, an extended theatrical re-release scheduled for September 2026, featuring additional footage and exclusive content designed to lead into the next major Avengers installments, Avengers: Doomsday, scheduled for release in December 2026, and Avengers: Secret Wars, planned for 2027. More than 7 years after its original release, Avengers: Endgame continues to be regarded as one of the most influential, critically acclaimed, culturally significant, technically accomplished, and commercially successful superhero films ever produced. Frequently cited as one of the greatest blockbuster films of the 21st century, it stands as the definitive culmination of the Infinity Saga and remains a landmark achievement in modern cinema, demonstrating the unprecedented storytelling possibilities of a shared cinematic universe while leaving a lasting legacy on the superhero genre and the global film industry. Set in 2018, 23 days after the catastrophic events of Avengers: Infinity War, the universe remains devastated by the decimation, in which the Mad Titan Thanos used the Infinity Stone to erase half of all life. Drifting in deep space aboard the Banner and running out of oxygen, Tony Stark and Nebula are rescued by Carol Danvers and returned safely to Earth, where they reunite with the surviving Avengers: Steve Rogers, Natasha Romanoff, Bruce Banner, Thor, James Rhodes, Rocket, and later Pepper Potts. After Nebula reveals that Thanos intended to retire to a remote planet known as the Garden, the team tracks him down, hoping to use the Infinity Stones to reverse the snap. However, they discover that Thanos destroyed the stones shortly after using them to prevent anyone from undoing his actions. Overcome by grief and rage, Thor kills Thanos by decapitating him, leaving the heroes defeated and without a solution to restore those who were lost. 5 years later, in 2023, the world has adapted to the aftermath of the blip, though society remains scarred by loss. Scott Lang unexpectedly escapes from the quantum realm after being trapped there since the events of Ant-Man and the Wasp. Having experienced only a few hours due to the realm's unusual relationship with time, Scott theorizes that it may provide a means of traveling through time. He reunites with Natasha Romanoff, Steve Rogers, and Bruce Banner, who has permanently merged his intellect with the Hulk's strength to become Smart Hulk. The team approaches Tony Stark, who has retired to a peaceful life with Pepper Potts and their daughter, Morgan. Though reluctant to risk the family he has built, Stark eventually solves the problem of navigating time travel. Working alongside Banner, Rocket, and Scott, the Avengers construct a quantum time machine and devise the Time Heist, a mission to retrieve the Infinity Stones from various points in the past before Thanos can obtain them. The Avengers divide into teams and travel across different eras of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Bruce Banner, Steve Rogers, Tony Stark, and Scott Lang journey to New York City in 2012 during the Battle of New York, revisiting the events of the Avengers. Banner visits the Sanctum Sanctorum and convinces the Ancient One to lend him the Time Stone after promising that the stones will be returned to their original timelines. Rogers infiltrates Hydra agents disguised as SHIELD operatives and retrieves Loki's scepter, containing the Mind Stone, while Stark and Lang attempt to obtain the Space Stone from the Tesseract. Their plan fails when the Hulk's past actions inadvertently allow Loki to escape with the Tesseract, creating an alternate timeline. To correct the mistake, Stark and Rogers travel further back to Comply High in 1970, where they acquire an earlier version of the Tesseract and additional Pym particles needed for their return. During this mission, Stark has an emotional encounter with his father, Howard Stark, gaining closure about their relationship, while Rogers catches a glimpse of Peggy Carter, the woman he has loved throughout his life. Rocket and Thor travel to Asgard in 2013 during the events of Thor: The Dark World. Rocket extracts the Reality Stone, hidden within Jane Foster, while Thor, emotionally broken after years of guilt and failure, reconnects with his mother, Frigga. Despite knowing that she is destined to die, Frigga comforts her son and encourages him to move forward. Thor regains confidence and summons his old hammer, Mjolnir, proving himself still worthy. Meanwhile, Natasha Romanoff and Clint Barton travel to Vormir in 2014 in search of the Soul Stone. There they encounter Red Skull, once the guardian of the Tesseract, who explains that the Soul Stone can only be obtained through the sacrifice of someone deeply loved. After a painful struggle over who should give their life, Natasha sacrifices herself, allowing Clint to claim the stone. At the same time, James Rhodes and Nebula travel to Morag shortly before Peter Quill acquires the Power Stone. They successfully retrieve it, but Nebula's cybernetic network becomes linked with her 2014 counterpart, allowing the younger Thanos to discover the future and learn that he will ultimately succeed and later be killed by the Avengers. Determined to change his destiny, the 2014 version of Thanos captures present-day Nebula and sends the younger Nebula forward in time disguised as her future self. Back in 2023, the Avengers reunite and place the 6 Infinity Stones into a new gauntlet created by Stark, Banner, and Rocket. Because of his unique resistance to gamma radiation, Banner uses the gauntlet to reverse the snap, restoring all those who vanished 5 years earlier. Moments later, that disguised 2014 Nebula opens the quantum tunnel, bringing Thanos, his warship, and his entire army into the present. Thanos launches a devastating attack that destroys the Avengers compound and begins a final battle for the fate of existence. As the surviving heroes struggle against Thanos, Steve Rogers proves worthy to wield Mjolnir, fighting alongside Thor and Stark in one of the MCU's most celebrated battles. When Thanos summons his army asset including the Chitauri, Outriders, Securans, and the Black Order, hope appears to be lost until Stephen Strange opens portals across the battlefield. Through them arrive the restored heroes and allies from across the universe, including Spider-Man, Black Panther, Doctor Strange, the Guardians of the Galaxy, the armies of Wakanda, the Masters of the Mystic Arts, the Ravagers, Valkyrie and the Asgardians, and many others. An enormous battle erupts as the heroes attempt to keep the Infinity Stones away from Thanos. Carol Danvers destroys Thanos' warship and nearly defeats him, but Thanos gains possession of the gauntlet. In a final act of sacrifice, Tony Stark secretly transfers the Infinity Stones to his own armor and snaps his fingers, disintegrating Thanos and his army at the cost of his own life. Following Tony Stark's death, the heroes gather for his funeral, honoring the man whose actions saved the universe. Thor appoints Valkyrie as the ruler of New Asgard and departs with the Guardians of the Galaxy to seek a new purpose. Steve Rogers returns the Infinity Stones and Mjolnir to their proper places in time to preserve the timelines, but chooses to remain in the past and live the life he never had with Peggy Carter. Returning to the present as an elderly man, Rogers passes his shield and the mantle of Captain America to Sam Wilson, symbolically concluding the Infinity Saga and ushering in a new generation of heroes. Avengers Endgame features one of the largest ensemble casts ever assembled for a feature film, bringing together principal heroes from across the Marvel Cinematic Universe while concluding the character arcs that had developed over more than a decade of interconnected storytelling. Robert Downey Jr. stars as Tony Stark, Iron Man, the founding Avenger, brilliant inventor, and self-described genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist, whose journey culminates in the ultimate act of self-sacrifice. After surviving in deep space with Nebula, Stark returns to Earth, where he has retired with Pepper Potts and their daughter Morgan. Although initially unwilling to risk the peaceful life he has built, he ultimately devises the solution to quantum time travel, allowing the Avengers to retrieve the Infinity Stones. Screenwriters Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely always envisioned Stark's story ending with the selfless sacrifice, completing the character's transformation from the self-centered industrialist introduced in Iron Man, 2008, into the hero who saves the universe. Directors Anthony and Joe Russo considered Downey the emotional center of the Infinity Saga and the only cast member entrusted with the complete screenplay to preserve the film's secrets. Stark ultimately wields all 6 Infinity Stones to destroy Thanos and his army, sacrificing his own life and completing what the filmmakers described as his perfectly earned heroic conclusion. Chris Evans portrays Steve Rogers, Captain America, the morally steadfast leader of the Avengers, a World War II veteran enhanced by the super soldier serum whose unwavering sense of duty has defined the MCU since Captain America, the First Avenger, 2011. Throughout the film, Rogers serves as the emotional backbone of the remaining Avengers, refusing to abandon hope despite years of failure. During the final battle he proves worthy to wield Mjolnir alongside his iconic vibranium shield, fulfilling a long-anticipated moment from Marvel Comics. Rather than dying in battle, Rogers completes his personal journey by returning the Infinity Stones to their proper timelines before choosing to remain in the past and live the life he sacrificed decades earlier with Peggy Carter. And elderly Steve later returns to pass his shield and the mantle of Captain America to Sam Wilson, symbolizing the beginning of a new era. Patrick Gorman served as the on-set performance reference for the elderly Steve before digital effects completed the transformation. Mark Ruffalo returns as Bruce Banner, Hulk, whose years of experimentation have allowed him to permanently merge Banner's intellect with Hulk's immense physical power, creating the Smart Hulk persona inspired by the Professor Hulk storyline from Marvel Comics. Unlike many of the other Avengers, Banner has adapted positively to life after the snap, embracing his dual identity and remaining optimistic about finding a solution. His unique resistance to gamma radiation makes him the only Avenger capable of safely wielding the completed Infinity Gauntlet to restore the billions erased by Thanos, though the act permanently injures his right arm. The filmmakers viewed Banner's evolution as the culmination of a character arc that began in Thor: Ragnarok, 2017, and continued through Avengers: Infinity War. Chris Hemsworth reprises his role as Thor, the king of Asgard and god of thunder. Following his failure to stop Thanos, Thor has descended into severe depression, guilt, alcoholism, and self-imposed isolation, living among the Asgardian refugees in New Asgard, Norway. His dramatically altered appearance, including long hair, braided beard, and heavier physique, was conceived not as a joke but as a realistic manifestation of trauma and grief. Hemsworth collaborated closely with the Russo brothers to develop this unexpected interpretation, wearing an extensive silicone prosthetic suit and spending several hours each day in makeup. During the time heist, Thor reunites with his mother Frigga, whose encouragement restores his confidence, and he discovers that he remains worthy by summoning Mjolnir from the past. By the film's conclusion, Thor relinquishes the throne of New Asgard to Valkyrie and departs alongside the Guardians of the Galaxy in search of a renewed purpose. Scarlett Johansson portrays Natasha Romanoff, Black Widow, the master spy and former SHIELD operative who effectively leads the remaining Avengers during the 5 years following the snap. Unable to move on from the team's failure, Natasha dedicates herself to coordinating global and interstellar rescue efforts while desperately searching for a way to reverse the catastrophe. Her story reaches its emotional climax on Vormir, where she willingly sacrifices herself so Clint Barton can obtain the Soul Stone, believing that restoring the billions who vanished is worth the cost of her own life. Marcus and McFeely viewed Natasha's death as the natural conclusion to her journey from a lonely assassin seeking redemption to someone willing to give everything for the family she found among the Avengers. Johansson underwent an intensive physical training program involving Olympic weightlifting, gymnastics, and combat conditioning to prepare for her final appearance as the character before later returning in the prequel Black Widow, 2021. Jeremy Renner appears as Clint Barton, Hawkeye, the master archer whose family was erased by the snap. Consumed by grief, Barton abandons his heroic identity and becomes the ruthless vigilante Ronin, targeting organized crime syndicates around the world. Natasha ultimately convinces him to return to the Avengers for the time heist. On Vormir, Barton unsuccessfully attempts to sacrifice himself for the Soul Stone before Natasha prevents him. Following Tony Stark's funeral, Barton reunites with his restored family, completing one of the film's most tragic and emotionally resonant storylines. Don Cheadle reprises James Reedy Rhodes, War Machine, the decorated U.S. Air Force officer and longtime friend of Tony Stark. More fully integrated into the Avengers than ever before, Rhodes participates in the time heist mission to Morag alongside Nebula, retrieves the Power Stone, and later fights in the climactic Battle of Earth wearing the upgraded War Machine armor. Cheadle described Rhodes as increasingly identifying with the Avengers rather than the military while maintaining his practical perspective amid extraordinary events. Paul Rudd returns as Scott Lang, Ant-Man, the former thief whose unexpected escape from the quantum realm provides the inspiration for the Avengers' time travel strategy. Because only 5 hours have passed for him while 5 years have elapsed in reality, Scott recognizes the quantum realm's unique relationship with time and becomes the catalyst for the time heist. The film also depicts alternate versions of Scott during time travel testing, portrayed by child actors Jackson A. Dunn and twins Baslow and Loanne LeClaire, as well as an elderly version portrayed by Lee Moore. Brie Larson portrays Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, the immensely powerful cosmic hero whose Kree-enhanced abilities place her among the strongest beings in the MCU. She rescues Tony Stark and Nebula from deep space at the beginning of the film before departing to protect countless worlds affected by the snap. Although her screen time is comparatively limited, Danvers returns during the climactic battle to destroy Thanos' sanctuary to warship and confront the Titan directly. Larson filmed her scenes before beginning production on Captain Marvel, 2019, with directors Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck helping ensure consistency in the character's portrayal. Karen Gillan delivers one of the film's most significant supporting performances as Nebula, the adopted daughter of Thanos and a former Guardian of the Galaxy. Her redemption arc reaches its culmination as she confronts her younger, more ruthless self during the time heist. After Thanos exploits the cybernetic connection between the two Nebulas to invade the future, present-day Nebula ultimately kills her past counterpart and convinces the 2014 version of Gamora to reject Thanos, demonstrating how far she has evolved from the embittered assassin introduced in Guardians of the Galaxy, 2014. The principal supporting cast includes Donna Guerrera as Echo, the fearless general of Wakanda's Dora Milaje, Benedict Wong as Wong, master of the mystic arts and ally of Doctor Strange, Jon Favreau as Happy Hogan, Tony Stark's trusted friend and former head of security at Stark Industries Bradley Cooper as the voice of Rocket, the genetically engineered Guardian of the Galaxy, with Sean Gunn once again providing Rocket's on-set motion reference performance. Gwyneth Paltrow as Pepper Potts, Tony Stark's wife and CEO of Stark Industries, who joins the final battle wearing the rescue armor designed by Tony, and Josh Brolin as Thanos, appearing both as the older Titan who destroyed the Infinity Stones before being killed by Thor and as his younger 2014 counterpart, who invades the future in an effort to reshape the universe according to his own vision. Brolin again performed both the voice and motion capture work for the character, while the filmmakers referred internally to the younger incarnation as Warrior Thanos. The film also features the return of a vast number of MCU actors reprising their established roles, including Benedict Cumberbatch as Dr. Stephen Strange, Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa, Black Panther, Tom Holland as Peter Parker, Spider-Man, Zoe Saldana A++ as Gamora, Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda Maximoff, Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson, Falcon, Sebastian Stan as Bucky Barnes, Winter Soldier, Tom Hiddleston as Loki, Chris Pratt as Peter Quill, Star-Lord, Dave Bautista as Drax, Paul Clemente as Mantis, Van Diesel as the voice of Groot, Letitia Wright as Shuri, Winston Duke as M'Baku, Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury, Kobe Smulders as Maria Hill, William Hurt as Secretary Thaddeus Ross, Ross Marquand as Red Skull, Tom Von Lawler as Ebony Maw, Michael James Shaw as Corvus Glaive, Terry Notary as Cull Obsidian, Monique Anderton providing the motion capture for Proxima Midnight, and Kerry Condon voicing Stark's artificial intelligence FRIDAY. Additional returning MCU performers include Evangeline Lilly as Hope Van Dyne, Wasp, Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie, Renee Russo as Frigga, John Slattery as Howard Stark, Tilda Swinton as the Ancient One, Hayley Atwell as Peggy Carter, Marissa Tomei as May Parker, Taika Waititi as Korg, Angela Bassett as Ramonda, Michael Douglas as Hank Pym, Michelle Pfeiffer as Janet Van Dyne, Linda Cardellini as Laura Barton, Robert Redford as Alexander Pierce, Frank Grillo as Brock Rumlow, Maximiliano Hearn Martinez as Jasper Sitwell, Callan Mulvey as Jack Rollins, Sean Gunn as Kraglin, Natalie Portman as Jane Foster through archival footage and newly recorded dialogue, and James Darcy as Edwin Jervis. marking the first appearance in an MCU feature film by a character originally introduced in the television series Agent Carter. New supporting roles include Hiroyuki Sanada as Akihiko, the Yakuza crime boss confronted by Ronin in Tokyo. Lexi Rabe as Morgan Stark, the young daughter of Tony Stark and Pepper Potts, and Emma Thurman as the older Cassie Lang, reflecting the 5-year passage of time. Although Catherine Langford was cast as an older version of Morgan Stark for a scene set in the Soul World, her sequence was ultimately removed from the finished film. The movie also includes memorable cameo appearances by Ken Jeong, Yvette Nicole Brown, co-director Joe Russo as a grieving support group member, Jim Starlin, creator of Thanos, and a non-speaking appearance by Howard the Duck during the final battle. The late Stan Lee, co-creator of many Marvel superheroes, makes his final cameo in a Marvel Studios film as a digitally de-aged driver in 1970, bringing to a close his beloved tradition of appearances throughout the MCU. Production on Avengers: Endgame began as part of Marvel Studios' ambitious plan to conclude the Infinity Saga through a 2-film finale. In October 2014, Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige announced that a sequel to Avengers: Age of Ultron, 2015, would be released as 2 interconnected films titled Avengers: Infinity War A Part 1 and Avengers: Infinity War A Part 2, with scheduled release dates of May 4, 2018, and May 3, 2019, respectively. The project was envisioned as the culmination of the Marvel Cinematic Universe's first 3 phases, bringing together storylines that had been developing since Iron Man, 2008. In April 2015, directors Anthony and Joe Russo, who had previously directed Captain America: The Winter Soldier, 2014, and Captain America: Civil War, 2016, officially joined the project after their successful collaboration with Marvel Studios. 1 month later, longtime MCU screenwriters Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely were hired to write both films. Although originally conceived as 2 parts of a single narrative, Kevin Feige emphasized that they would ultimately become 2 distinct movies connected by shared themes rather than a single story divided into 2 installments. To reinforce this distinction and prevent audiences from assuming that the second film merely continued the first, the Russo brothers decided in 2016 to abandon the Part 2 subtitle. Marvel subsequently removed the title entirely, referring to the project simply as the untitled 4th Avengers film while intentionally withholding its official name because it was considered the major spoiler for the ending of Avengers: Infinity War. Pre-production involved years of story development as Marcus, McFeely, the Russo brothers, and Feige sought to create a satisfying conclusion to more than 20 interconnected films while simultaneously providing emotional closure for the original Avengers. Rather than focusing solely on spectacle, the filmmakers structured the screenplay around the personal journeys of Tony Stark, Steve Rogers, Natasha Romanoff, Thor, Bruce Banner, and Clint Barton, ensuring that each character's arc reflected themes established throughout the Infinity Saga. The introduction of the time heist allowed the story to revisit pivotal moments from earlier MCU films, transforming Endgame into both a sequel and a celebration of the franchise's history. This narrative approach required extensive planning to maintain continuity across multiple timelines while respecting the established rules of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Principal photography officially began on August 10, 2017, under the working title Mary Lou 2, at Pinewood Atlanta Studios in Fayette County, Georgia, with Trent Opolak serving as director of photography. Originally, Marvel intended to shoot Avengers: Infinity War and Endgame simultaneously, but the scale and complexity of the productions eventually led the filmmakers to abandon that strategy in favor of filming them back-to-back. Kevin Feige explained that cross-boarding the 2 films became increasingly difficult because of the enormous ensemble cast, intricate visual effects requirements, and constantly evolving scripts. Although Joe Russo initially believed simultaneous production would be more efficient from a logistical standpoint, the filmmakers concluded that completing one film before fully concentrating on the next would ultimately result in a stronger creative process. As a result, Infinity War completed principal photography before the production shifted its full attention to Endgame. Filming utilized the Alexa IMAX 2D digital cameras, making Avengers: Infinity War and Avengers. Endgame, the first major Hollywood feature films photographed entirely with IMAX-certified digital cameras from start to finish. The format allowed the filmmakers to present selected sequences in an expanded IMAX aspect ratio while capturing greater image resolution and detail than previous MCU productions. Production took place across numerous locations in Georgia, including Pinewood Atlanta Studios, downtown Atlanta's Gulch District, areas surrounding the Five Points MARTA station, and Piedmont Park. Additional photography occurred in Durham Cathedral in Durham, England, where scenes set in 2013 Asgard during the events of Thor: The Dark World were filmed during the production of Infinity War. Other location work included Street Tabs, Scotland, which doubled for the Asgardian refugee settlement of New Asgard in Norway, as well as filming in Dutchess County and Ulster County, New York, for sequences connected to the time heist. Principal photography concluded on January 11, 2018, after approximately 5 months of filming. Following the completion of principal photography, Marvel conducted several rounds of additional photography to refine character moments, improve action sequences, and accommodate changes made during post-production. Additional filming took place in June 2018 in New York before major reshoots commenced on September 7, 2018, continuing through October 12, 2018. A final round of pickups and visual effects photography was completed in January 2019, allowing the filmmakers to perfect the film's emotional pacing, action choreography, and continuity with Avengers: Infinity War. Given the unprecedented scale of the production and the secrecy surrounding its story, the cast frequently filmed scenes without complete scripts or context, while Marvel Studios implemented extraordinary security measures to prevent spoilers. According to the Russo brothers, only Robert Downey Jr. received a complete screenplay, whereas most cast members were provided only with the scenes necessary for their performances. Even many actors were unaware of the film's ending until production had concluded. The film united one of the largest ensembles in cinematic history, requiring careful scheduling across hundreds of shooting days. Returning stars Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, Scarlett Johansson, Mark Ruffalo, Jeremy Renner, Don Cheadle, Paul Rudd, Karen Gillan, Brie Larson, Josh Brolin, and numerous other MCU performers reprised their established roles, while several actors returned specifically for scenes recreating earlier Marvel films. Because the time heist revisited iconic moments from previous installments, numerous sets, costumes, and props had to be painstakingly reconstructed to match their original appearances. Chris Evans and Chris Hemsworth reportedly earned $15 million each for their performances, reflecting their status as two of the franchise's leading stars. Marvel Studios officially revealed the title Avengers: Endgame on December 7, 2018, alongside the release of the film's first teaser trailer, which also confirmed a revised United States theatrical release date of April 26, 2019, 1 week earlier than previously announced. The title referenced a line spoken by Doctor Strange in Avengers: Infinity War and had been intentionally withheld for months to avoid revealing that the surviving Avengers would ultimately mount one final effort to undo Thanos' victory. Post-production represented one of the most technically ambitious undertakings in Marvel Studios' history. Editing was handled by longtime Russo collaborators Jeffrey Ford and Matthew Schmidt, who assembled thousands of visual effects shots while balancing the film's nearly 3-hour running time. The visual effects were created by a collaboration of leading international studios, including Industrial Light Magic, ILM, Weta Digital, DNEG, Framestore, CineSight, Digital Domain, Rise FX, Lola VFX, Cantina Creative, Capital T, Technicolor VFX, and Territory Studio. Together these companies produced more than 2,500 visual effects shots, making Endgame one of the most effects-intensive films ever created. Their work encompassed a fully digital recreation of the Quantum Realm, the enormous Battle of Earth, the construction of Sanctuary 2 and Thanos' armies, Smart Hulk, Rocket, the time travel visualizations, environmental destruction, digital doubles, and the seamless integration of live-action performances with computer-generated characters. Lola VFX played a particularly significant role in developing the film's sophisticated digital aging technology. Approximately 200 aging shots were created for the production. Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Mark Ruffalo, Chris Hemsworth, Scarlett Johansson, and Jeremy Renner were digitally restored to match their 2012 appearances during sequences recreating the Battle of New York from the Avengers. Michael Douglas, John Slattery, and Stan Lee were similarly de-aged for scenes set in 1970 at Copley High, with Douglas's younger appearance partially inspired by his performance in the television series The Streets of San Francisco. Conversely, Chris Evans underwent an advanced combination of practical makeup, prosthetics, performance doubles, and digital visual effects to convincingly portray an elderly Steve Rogers in the film's emotional final sequence. These techniques were widely praised for their realism and represented some of the most advanced digital character aging work achieved in cinema at the time. With an estimated production budget of $356 million, excluding global marketing costs, Avengers: Endgame ranks among the most expensive films ever produced. The unprecedented scale of its production, groundbreaking use of IMAX digital cinematography, extensive practical and digital effects, massive ensemble cast, elaborate time travel recreations of earlier MCU films, and highly coordinated post-production pipeline reflected Marvel Studios' commitment to delivering a definitive conclusion to the Infinity Saga. The result was one of the most technically ambitious blockbuster productions ever undertaken and a landmark achievement in large-scale franchise filmmaking. The musical score for Avengers: Endgame was composed by Alan Silvestri, who returned after previously scoring The Avengers, 2012, and Avengers: Infinity War, 2018. Marvel Studios officially confirmed Silvestri's involvement in June 2016, ensuring musical continuity for the conclusion of the Infinity Saga. Having developed many of the franchise's defining musical themes over the previous decade, Silvestri approached Endgame as both the emotional climax of the Avengers saga and the culmination of numerous character journeys that had begun years earlier. He began collaborating closely with directors Anthony and Joe Russo during the latter stages of post-production in November 2018, carefully shaping the score to complement the film's balance of intimate character drama, time travel adventure, and large-scale action. The recording sessions were completed in late March 2019, only weeks before the film's worldwide release, allowing the music to be synchronized with the nearly finished visual effects and final edit. Silvestri described Endgame as the most emotionally diverse score of his career within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, requiring a much broader musical palette than previous entries. Rather than functioning solely as an action score, the music constantly shifts between powerful orchestral spectacle and deeply personal emotional storytelling. The action sequences feature thunderous percussion, soaring brass fanfares, aggressive string writing, and sweeping orchestral themes that reinforce the scale of the Avengers' final confrontation with Thanos, while quieter moments employ restrained piano passages, subtle woodwinds, and intimate orchestration to reflect the grief, loss, hope, and redemption experienced by the surviving heroes. For the quantum realm in Scott Lang's time travel discoveries, Silvestri incorporated lighter, jazz-inspired rhythms and playful orchestrations that contrasted with the darker emotional material surrounding the aftermath of the snap. Throughout the score, he revisited and expanded many of the musical motifs he had developed across earlier MCU films, creating a cohesive musical conclusion that united the franchise's narrative and emotional history. One of the score's defining characteristics is its extensive use of recurring light motifs representing individual heroes, relationships, and major story elements from previous Marvel films. Silvestri reintroduced the iconic Avengers theme, first heard in The Avengers, 2012. Gradually building anticipation throughout the film before presenting its most triumphant and fully orchestrated statement during the climactic Avengers Assemble sequence. He also reprised themes associated with Captain America, originally introduced in Captain America: The First Avenger, 2011, as well as musical material representing Iron Man, Thanos, and the Infinity Stones from Avengers: Infinity War. According to Silvestri, writing the music for Steve Rogers' farewell was especially meaningful because he had accompanied the character musically since Captain America's first solo film nearly a decade earlier. The closing scenes featuring Steve's decision to remain in the past with Peggy Carter and Tony Stark's funeral are underscored by some of the score's most restrained and emotionally resonant compositions, emphasizing themes of sacrifice, legacy, friendship, and closure. The score reaches its emotional and musical peak during the Battle of Earth, culminating in the now iconic U-portals. The piece begins with quiet, hopeful orchestration as Doctor Strange and the Masters of the Mystic Arts open portals across the battlefield, allowing the rest-toward heroes and armies from throughout the Marvel Cinematic Universe to join the Avengers, as characters including Black Panther, Spider-Man, the Guardians of the Galaxy, the Wakandan Army, Valkyrie and the Asgardians, and numerous others arrive. The music gradually expands into a soaring orchestral crescendo. The cue reaches its unforgettable climax when Steve Rogers declares "Avengers, assemble" for the first time in the MCU, immediately followed by Silvestri's full Avengers theme accompanying the hero's charge against Thanos' forces. Widely regarded by critics, audiences, and film music enthusiasts as one of the defining musical moments in superhero cinema, Portals became one of the most celebrated tracks in the MCU's history. Owing to its immense popularity, Marvel Studios and Hollywood Records released an official music video for the cue on June 13, 2019, allowing fans to experience the sequence with Silvestri's score prominently featured. In addition to Silvestri's original compositions, Avengers: Endgame incorporates musical continuity from several other Marvel Cinematic Universe films. The score includes Christoph Beck's theme from Ant-Man, 2015, during Scott Lang's Quantum Realm sequences, Michael Giacchino's theme from Doctor Strange, 2016, accompanying Stephen Strange and the Masters of the Mystic Arts, and Pinar Toprek's heroic motif from Captain Marvel, 2019, during Carol Danvers' appearances. These thematic callbacks reinforce the interconnected nature of the MCU while giving each hero a distinct musical identity within a larger orchestral framework. The film also features several licensed songs that connect Endgame to earlier Marvel films while enhancing key emotional moments. Come and Get Your Love by Redbone, previously featured in Guardians of the Galaxy, 2014, returns during the 2014 sequence involving Peter Quill on Morag, humorously recreating his original introduction while providing nostalgic continuity. Meanwhile, It's Been a Long Time, written by Jewel Stein and Sammy Cahn and performed by Harry James and his orchestra featuring Kitty Collin, is heard during the film's closing moments as Steve Rogers finally fulfills the dance he promised Peggy Carter in Captain America: The First Avenger. The romantic standard had previously appeared in Captain America: The Winter Soldier, 2014, and its reappearance provides an emotionally satisfying conclusion to Steve's decades-long story arc, underscoring one of the Infinity Saga's most poignant endings. The official soundtrack album, featuring Alan Silvestri's complete original score, was released digitally by Hollywood Records on April 26, 2019, coinciding with the film's theatrical debut, followed by a physical CD release on May 24, 2019. The album received widespread critical acclaim, with reviewers praising its emotional depth, thematic consistency, orchestral grandeur, and effective integration of musical motifs from across the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Critics particularly highlighted Silvestri's ability to balance intimate character moments with epic action, while Portals, Main on End, The How Works, One Shot, and Totally Fine became fan-favorite compositions. The score has since been widely regarded as one of the finest achievements in the history of the MCU, celebrated for providing a powerful and emotionally resonant musical conclusion to the Infinity Saga while reaffirming Alan Silvestri's iconic contribution to Marvel's cinematic legacy. Marvel Studios launched one of the largest and most expensive marketing campaigns in cinematic history for Avengers: Endgame, with promotional expenditures reportedly exceeding $200 million, making it the costliest marketing campaign for any Marvel Studios film at the time. Designed to conclude the 11-year Infinity Saga while preserving the film's biggest story surprises, the campaign relied on an unusually secretive strategy that emphasized mystery, emotion, and anticipation rather than revealing plot details. Unlike many blockbuster campaigns that showcase extensive footage, Marvel intentionally limited the amount of material released, with nearly all trailers, television spots, posters, and promotional images drawing almost exclusively from the film's opening act. The studio deliberately omitted scenes involving the time heist, the return of the vanished heroes, the Battle of Earth, Captain America wielding Mjolnir, Tony Stark's sacrifice, and virtually every major twist, allowing audiences to experience the film's defining moments unspoiled. This spoiler-conscious approach became one of the campaign's defining characteristics and was widely praised by critics and fans as one of the most effective examples of blockbuster marketing. Marvel partnered with an extensive roster of global promotional sponsors to support the film's release, reflecting the unprecedented cultural significance of the MCU's culmination. Promotional campaigns were launched in collaboration with Stand Up to Cancer, MasterCard, Ulta Beauty, Audi, McDonald's, Geico, Coca-Cola, Google, General Mills, Hertz, Ziploc, Oppo, and Synchrony Financial, among others. One of the most prominent partnerships involved Audi, whose Audi e-tron GT concept vehicle appears prominently in the film as Tony Stark's personal car and featured heavily in international advertising campaigns. Additional tie-in promotions included collectible merchandise, limited edition food packaging, retail displays, sweepstakes, digital experiences, theme commercials, and charitable initiatives, extending the film's presence across television, online platforms, social media, and retail stores worldwide. Long before the campaign officially began, industry observers noted the unprecedented challenge Marvel faced in marketing the sequel without revealing how the events of Avengers: Infinity War would be resolved. Because half of the MCU's heroes, including Spider-Man, Black Panther, Doctor Strange, and the Guardians of the Galaxy, had been erased by Thanos, journalists questioned whether those characters would appear in promotional materials. Many speculated that excluding them would preserve the film's mystery, while including them would inevitably spoil their return. Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige confirmed in June 2018 that characters who had disappeared during the snap would not be featured prominently in the early marketing campaign, reinforcing Marvel's commitment to maintaining secrecy. During that year's in Europe presentation, Feige previewed behind-the-scenes footage for theater owners while emphasizing that the public marketing campaign would not begin until the end of 2018, allowing anticipation to continue building naturally. The prolonged silence surrounding the film generated extraordinary levels of fan speculation across social media and entertainment news outlets. Months before the first trailer's release, commentators observed that Endgame had already achieved remarkable levels of public awareness without any official promotional material. Writers described the anticipation as almost entirely fan-driven, fueled by online theories, leaked set photographs, speculation regarding the untitled fourth Avengers film, and the emotional impact of Infinity War's cliffhanger ending. Many industry analysts argued that Marvel's refusal to reveal the title or release footage had become a marketing strategy in itself, creating an unprecedented level of curiosity rarely seen for a major studio release. Marvel officially unveiled the film's first teaser trailer on December 7, 2018, simultaneously revealing the long secret title, Avengers: Endgame, and confirming the film's theatrical release date of April 26, 2019 in the United States. The trailer adopted an unusually somber tone, focusing almost entirely on the surviving Avengers coping with grief and failure following Thanos' victory. Rather than showcasing large-scale action sequences, it highlighted emotional moments involving Tony Stark stranded in space, Steve Rogers confronting defeat, Natasha Romanoff reflecting on the team's losses, Thor mourning his failure, and Scott Lang unexpectedly returning after escaping the quantum realm. Marvel Studios deliberately avoided placing the film's title or hashtags at the beginning of social media posts so audiences could watch the trailer without immediately encountering spoilers before the title reveal at its conclusion. Critics praised the trailer for its restraint, emotional weight, and ability to generate excitement while revealing remarkably little about the story. Many also noted that the title Endgame referenced dialogue spoken by Doctor Strange in Avengers: Infinity War as well as Tony Stark's warning in Avengers: Age of Ultron, reinforcing the sense that the Infinity Saga had been building toward this conclusion for years. The teaser became an immediate global phenomenon. Within its first 24 hours, it accumulated approximately 289 million views across all digital platforms, surpassing the previous record set by Avengers: Infinity War and becoming the most viewed film trailer in history during its first day of release at that time. The trailer also generated an estimated 549,000 Twitter mentions within its first 24 hours, establishing a new record for online discussion surrounding a film trailer. Industry tracking services reported exceptionally high audience interest, with Box Office Pro's trailer impact metrics indicating that roughly 78% of surveyed viewers expressed a strong desire to see the film, placing Endgame among the most anticipated theatrical releases ever measured. Marvel Studios released the second official trailer and the primary theatrical poster on March 14, 2019. Unlike the first teaser, the second trailer showcased more footage of the surviving Avengers preparing for their final mission while still withholding every major spoiler from the film's second and third acts. The accompanying theatrical poster initially attracted criticism because Downey, despite appearing prominently in the artwork as a Cole, was omitted from the top billing alongside the other principal cast members. Following widespread fan reaction across social media, Marvel quickly issued a revised version of the poster later the same day, adding Guerrero's name to the top billing. The updated artwork was praised as a swift response to audience concerns. The second trailer itself proved nearly as successful as the first, generating approximately 268 million views during its first 24 hours, making it the second most viewed movie trailer in history at the time, surpassed only by Endgame's own teaser. As the release date approached, Marvel expanded the campaign with television commercials, character posters, exclusive featurettes, magazine covers, convention appearances, digital advertising, and extensive social media engagement while maintaining its strict spoiler policy. The cast participated in a carefully coordinated global press tour led by Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Scarlett Johansson, Chris Hemsworth, Mark Ruffalo, Jeremy Renner, Brie Larson, Paul Rudd, and other principal actors, though interviews were tightly managed to avoid revealing plot details. Marvel also introduced the social media campaign #SpoilTheEndgame, encouraging audiences not to disclose major story developments after seeing the film. Shortly before release, directors Anthony and Joe Russo published an open letter asking fans to preserve the theatrical experience for others by avoiding spoilers, a request that spread rapidly across social media and became one of the campaign's defining moments. The marketing strategy has since been widely regarded as one of the most successful blockbuster campaigns ever undertaken. By emphasizing emotional storytelling, nostalgia, secrecy, and the culmination of more than a decade of interconnected filmmaking, Marvel Studios transformed Avengers: Endgame into a global cultural event rather than simply another superhero release. The deliberate withholding of major plot revelations, combined with record-breaking trailer viewership, worldwide promotional partnerships, and unparalleled fan anticipation, contributed significantly to the film's historic opening weekend and eventual box office success, while establishing a new benchmark for spoiler-conscious marketing in the modern film industry. Avengers: Endgame had its world premiere on April 22, 2019, at the Los Angeles Convention Center in Los Angeles, California, where Marvel Studios and the Walt Disney Studios staged one of the largest red carpet premieres ever held for a feature film. To accommodate the unprecedented scale of the event, Disney transformed the convention center's Hall K into a temporary state-of-the-art cinema in collaboration with Dolby Laboratories and QSC Audio, installing a 70-foot (21 meters) projection screen, Dolby Vision laser projection, and a Dolby Atmos immersive sound system. The venue also hosted the film's expansive red carpet, which featured appearances by the principal cast, filmmakers, Marvel Studios executives, and numerous celebrities, followed by an exclusive after-party celebrating the culmination of the Infinity Saga. The premiere generated extensive global media coverage and was live-streamed across multiple digital platforms, reflecting the enormous anticipation surrounding the conclusion of the Marvel Cinematic Universe's first 11 years of storytelling. Following its premiere, Avengers: Endgame received a staggered international rollout beginning on April 24, 2019, opening in Australia, China, and numerous markets across Asia and Europe, followed by its release in the United Kingdom on April 25. The film debuted in the United States, Canada, India, and several additional territories on April 26, 2019, before opening in Russia on April 29. Originally, the film had been scheduled for release in the United States on May 3, 2019, but Disney moved the date forward by 1 week to align more closely with its international rollout and reduce the risk of spoilers spreading online. In Russia, the delayed release prompted reports that local authorities had postponed the opening to provide additional theatrical exposure for domestically produced films. Although no official confirmation of that motive was issued, the film was released simultaneously in a wide variety of premium exhibition formats, including IMAX, RAL 3D, Dolby Cinema, 4DX, ScreenX, and other premium large-format presentations, allowing audiences to experience the film with enhanced picture quality, immersive sound, and expanded aspect ratios. Within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Avengers: Endgame serves as the 22nd feature film and the climactic conclusion of Phase 3, bringing the Infinity Saga to its dramatic conclusion. In anticipation of the release of Spider-Man: Far From Home, 2019, Marvel Studios modified theatrical presentations of Endgame following the debut of the second Far From Home trailer on May 6, 2019. Beginning shortly afterward, selected screenings concluded with the special video message from Tom Holland, who encouraged audiences to remain after the credits to watch the new trailer. The strategy effectively transformed Endgame screenings into an early promotional platform for the next MCU installment while capitalizing on the film's enormous theatrical attendance. In June 2019, Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige announced that Avengers: Endgame would return to theaters in an expanded theatrical engagement featuring approximately 7 minutes of additional material. Rather than a traditional extended cut, the re-release included a tribute honoring Marvel co-creator Stan Lee, an unfinished deleted scene, and an exclusive preview featuring the opening sequence of Spider-Man: Far From Home. Select theaters also distributed limited edition commemorative posters to moviegoers. The expanded version opened in 1,040 theaters across the United States beginning on June 28, 2019, helping boost the film's worldwide box office total during its historic pursuit of the all-time global box office record. The re-release contributed significantly to Endgame surpassing Avatar, 2009. In July 2019 to become the highest-grossing film in history, a distinction it retained until Avatar reclaimed the record following its 2021 theatrical re-release in China. In addition to its theatrical success, Avengers: Endgame enjoyed an exceptionally successful home entertainment rollout. The film was released digitally in the United States on July 30, 2019, followed by Ultra HD Blu-ray, DVD, and 4K Ultra HD editions on August 13, 2019 through Walt Disney Studios Home Entertainment. Home media releases included deleted scenes, feature-length behind-the-scenes documentaries, filmmaker commentaries, gag reels, and extensive bonus features chronicling the production of the Infinity Saga's conclusion. The film later became available for streaming on Disney Plus following the platform's launch on November 12, 2019, where it quickly became one of the service's flagship titles and remains among its most-watched Marvel releases. As part of Marvel Studios' celebration of the Infinity Saga and its preparations for the next major crossover event in the multiverse saga, Avengers, Endgame is scheduled to receive a new theatrical re-release titled Avengers, Endgame Encore on September 25, 2026. The re-release is designed to build anticipation for Avengers, Doomsday, scheduled for release in December 2026, and subsequently Avengers, Secret Wars. Unlike the 2019 expanded engagement, Endgame Encore will feature newly edited footage, a custom introduction, and an all-new post-credits scene intended to serve as a narrative bridge connecting the events of Endgame to the multiverse saga's climactic chapters. Directors Anthony and Joe Russo have described the additional material as critically important to audiences preparing for Avengers, Doomsday, explaining that the new scenes were specifically created to strengthen the narrative connection between the Infinity Saga's conclusion and the MCU's next major crossover event. The 2026 re-release will also become the first Marvel Studios catalog title to receive Disney's Infinity Vision certification, a premium exhibition initiative identifying theaters that meet Disney's highest technical standards for a large-format presentation. The certification is intended to help audiences identify venues offering the biggest, brightest, and most immersive cinematic experiences, incorporating advanced projection systems, enhanced brightness, superior contrast, premium audio technologies, and expanded screen presentations. Through its combination of newly produced footage, premium theatrical presentation, and direct narrative links to the upcoming Avengers films, Avengers, Endgame Encore is expected to introduce a new generation of audiences to the Infinity Saga while reaffirming the film's enduring status as one of the defining cinematic events of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Following its record-breaking theatrical run, Avengers, Endgame was released for digital purchase and download by Walt Disney Studios Home Entertainment on July 30, 2019, before arriving on Ultra HD Blu-ray, and DVD on August 13, 2019. The release was made available across major digital storefronts, including Apple TV, Amazon Prime Video, Google Play, Vudu, Microsoft Movies TV, and other digital platforms, allowing audiences to own the film in high definition and 4K Ultra HD formats. As one of Marvel Studios' most anticipated home entertainment releases, Endgame quickly became one of the best-selling digital and physical media titles of 2019, reflecting the film's immense global popularity following its historic theatrical success. The home media editions featured an extensive collection of bonus content celebrating the conclusion of the Infinity Saga. Among the supplemental materials were multiple behind-the-scenes documentaries exploring the making of the film, the evolution of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and the production of the climactic Battle of Earth. The release also included filmmaker audio commentary by directors Anthony and Joe Russo and screenwriters Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, offering detailed insights into the film's creative decisions, character arcs, production challenges, and visual storytelling. Additional special features consisted of several deleted and extended scenes, a gag reel, blooper reel, showcasing humorous moments from the cast during filming, and featurettes examining the emotional conclusions of Tony Stark's and Steve Rogers' journeys, the creation of the time heist, the visual effects process, and the unprecedented collaboration required to unite the MCU's enormous ensemble cast. Despite being photographed entirely with Alexa IMAX digital cameras and exhibited theatrically in IMAX's expanded 1.90:1 aspect ratio, the initial digital and physical home media releases presented the film in the standard 2.39:1 widescreen format used for conventional theatrical screenings. This decision disappointed some IMAX enthusiasts, as the taller framing used in IMAX theaters, which revealed substantially more image information at the top and bottom of the frame, was unavailable on home video at launch. The standard presentation remained the only version included on the film's Ultra HD Blu-ray, DVD, and digital purchase editions released in 2019. On November 12, 2019, coinciding with the launch of Disney+, Avengers, Endgame became one of the streaming service's flagship titles and was made available exclusively on Disney's subscription platform in the United States after completing its previous streaming agreements. The film quickly became one of Disney Plus's most viewed releases and played a significant role in attracting subscribers during the service's launch period, joining the rest of the Infinity Saga as a cornerstone of the platform's Marvel library. To further enhance the streaming experience, Disney introduced IMAX-enhanced versions of several Marvel Cinematic Universe films on November 12, 2021, including Avengers: Endgame. This version restored the film's expanded 1.90 to 1 IMAX aspect ratio for sequences originally presented in IMAX theaters, allowing viewers to see up to 26% more image during those scenes compared to the standard widescreen presentation. The IMAX Enhanced Edition marked the first time audiences could experience the film at home in an aspect ratio closely matching its original IMAX theatrical exhibition, significantly improving the presentation of large-scale action sequences such as the time heist, that destruction of the Avengers compound, and the climactic Battle of Earth. Commercially, Avengers: Endgame achieved exceptional success in the home entertainment market. In the United States, the film generated approximately $107.8 million in combined DVD and Blu-ray sales, making it one of the highest-selling physical media releases of 2019 despite the industry's ongoing shift toward digital distribution and streaming. It also ranked among the year's top-selling digital movie purchases across multiple online platforms. Combined with its strong streaming performance on Disney+, the film continued to attract audiences long after its theatrical run, reinforcing its status as one of Marvel Studios' most successful and enduring releases. In addition to standard home media formats, Avengers: Endgame has remained a centerpiece of Disney's premium home entertainment catalog through various collector's editions, 4K Ultra HD releases, Steelbook editions, and Marvel Cinematic Universe box sets released in subsequent years. The film's continued availability across physical media, digital storefronts, Disney+, and IMAX-enhanced streaming has ensured that the culmination of the Infinity Saga remains accessible to audiences worldwide, preserving its legacy as one of the defining achievements of modern blockbuster cinema. Avengers: Endgame became one of the greatest commercial successes in cinematic history, grossing $858.4 million in the United States and Canada and $1.941 billion in international markets for a worldwide total of $2.799 billion against an estimated production budget of $356.4 million, excluding marketing expenses. At the time of its original theatrical run, the film became the highest-grossing film of all time, surpassing Avatar, 2009, before Avatar reclaimed the record following its 2021 theatrical re-release in China. Endgame currently remains the second highest-grossing film in worldwide box office history and the second highest-grossing film ever released in the United States and Canada, behind Star Wars: The Force Awakens, 2015. When adjusted for inflation, however, Gone with the Wind, 1939, continues to rank as the highest-grossing film in history. The film's extraordinary financial performance, combined with its critical acclaim and cultural impact, cemented its status as one of the defining blockbuster releases of the modern era. The film shattered virtually every major opening weekend record upon release. It debuted to an unprecedented $1.223 billion worldwide during its first global weekend, becoming the first film in history to surpass the $1 billion mark in a single weekend and nearly doubling the previous worldwide opening record of $640.5 million established by Avengers: Infinity War, 2018. Endgame also became the fastest film ever to reach $1 billion, accomplishing the milestone in just 5 days, and $1.5 billion in 8 days, both records that remain among the fastest worldwide box office achievements ever recorded. It reached $2 billion in only 11 days, eclipsing Avatar's previous record of 47 days, and became just the fifth film ever to surpass that milestone after Titanic, 1997, Avatar, Star Wars: The Force Awakens, 2015, and Avengers: Infinity War. The film continued its extraordinary pace by crossing $2.5 billion in only 20 days, compared to the 72 days required by Avatar. Financial analysts observed that Endgame recovered its enormous production investment with unprecedented speed. Deadline Hollywood estimated that the film effectively reached its break-even point within 5 days of release, an almost unheard-of achievement for a major studio tentpole. After accounting for worldwide theatrical revenue, production costs, marketing expenses, participations, residuals, and home entertainment revenue, Deadline calculated the film's net profit at approximately $890 million, ranking it as the most profitable film of 2019 on its annual list of Hollywood's most valuable blockbusters. Months before its release, Avengers: Endgame had already established itself as one of the most anticipated films ever produced. By late 2018, it ranked among the year's most anticipated upcoming releases according to IMDb, while Fandango and Atom Tickets each named it their most anticipated film of 2019. When advance ticket sales opened in the United States on April 2, 2019, overwhelming consumer demand caused widespread technical disruptions across major ticketing platforms. Websites and mobile applications operated by AMC Theaters, Fandango, Atom Tickets, and several other exhibitors experienced crashes, virtual waiting rooms, and extended delays lasting several hours. Fandango announced that Endgame had become the highest-selling pre-sale film in the company's history, surpassing Star Wars: The Force Awakens after only 6 hours of availability. Atom Tickets reported that the film sold approximately 4 times as many first-day advance tickets as Aquaman, 2018, while Regal Cinemas revealed that Endgame sold more tickets during its first 8 hours than Avengers: Infinity War had sold during its entire first week of advance sales. By the day before release, Fandango reported that Endgame had become its biggest pre-selling title ever, with more than 8,000 sold-out showtimes across the United States. International demand proved equally unprecedented. In India, the film sold approximately 1 million tickets within a single day across its English, Hindi, Tamil, and Telugu language versions, averaging roughly 18 tickets every second. In China, where advance ticket sales opened on April 12, 2019, more than 1 million tickets were purchased during the first 6 hours, surpassing Infinity War's entire first-day advance sales within just 1 hour. Chinese pre-sales eventually exceeded RMB 770 million, approximately $114.5 million, before release, setting a new national record. Initial industry forecasts projected a domestic opening weekend between $200 million and $250 million, though expectations steadily increased as advance sales accelerated. By release week, analysts had raised estimates to $268-300 million, with some predicting that the film could become the first ever to surpass $300 million during a single domestic weekend. Ultimately, Avengers: Endgame far exceeded even the most optimistic projections, debuting to a record-breaking $357.1 million across 4,662 theaters, the widest domestic release in history at the time, including 410 IMAX locations. The film shattered the previous opening weekend record held by Avengers: Infinity War by nearly $100 million, while simultaneously setting new records for the highest Thursday previews, $60 million, Friday, $157.5 million, Saturday, $109.3 million, and Sunday, $90.4 million, grosses in box office history. It achieved a remarkable per-theater average of $76,601, surpassing previous nationwide release records established by Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Its $357.1 million opening weekend also exceeded the previous record for the combined grosses of all films playing domestically during a single weekend. The film continued to dominate the North American box office throughout its theatrical run. It turned $36.9 million on its first Monday and $33.1 million on its first Tuesday, among the highest weekday grosses ever recorded. During its second weekend, Endgame collected $147.4 million, at the time the second-largest second weekend in history, bringing its domestic total to $621.3 million after only 10 days and becoming the fastest film ever to surpass $600 million. It later crossed $700 million within 16 days, tying the pace set by Star Wars: The Force Awakens, and exceeded $800 million over Memorial Day weekend. Following its limited theatrical re-release in late June 2019, the film expanded into an additional 1,040 theaters, earning $6.1 million during its 10th weekend, a 207% increase over the previous frame. The re-release ultimately helped push the film beyond Avatar's worldwide record before the latter reclaimed the title in 2021. Domestically, Endgame concluded its original run with $858.4 million, remaining one of only a handful of films to surpass the $800 million milestone in North America. Internationally, Avengers: Endgame delivered an equally historic performance, opening to approximately $866 million overseas during its first weekend, of the largest international debut in cinema history. China led all international markets with an extraordinary $330.5 million opening weekend, approximately RMB 2.22 billion, including a record-breaking $107.5 million opening day and $28.2 million generated solely from midnight, 3 a.m., and 6 a.m. screenings. Following its exceptional first-day performance and overwhelmingly positive audience reception on Chinese review platforms such as Douban and Mayan, weekend projections were repeatedly revised upward. During its first week, the film's 5 largest international markets were China, $459.4 million, the United Kingdom, $68.2 million, South Korea, $60.3 million, Mexico, $48.6 million, and India, $40.9 million. Within only 1 week of release, Endgame became the highest-grossing foreign-language import in both China and India. The film established opening weekend records in numerous international territories, including China, the United Kingdom, South Korea, Mexico, Australia, Brazil, Spain, Japan, and Vietnam, while continuing to perform strongly across Europe, Latin America, and the Asia-Pacific region. Although its Russian release was delayed by several days, reportedly to provide additional exhibition opportunities for domestic productions, the film still earned approximately $21.6 million during its first 4 days in the country. By the conclusion of its theatrical run, the film's largest international markets were China, $632 million, the United Kingdom, $115 million, South Korea, $105 million, Brazil, $86 million, and Mexico, $78 million. Beyond its unprecedented theatrical earnings, Avengers: Endgame generated substantial additional revenue through premium format screenings, IMAX engagements, home entertainment sales, digital purchases, and streaming on Disney+. Combined with its remarkable profitability, record-breaking ticket demand, and unparalleled global audience turnout, the film redefined the commercial potential of blockbuster filmmaking. Its theatrical performance remains one of the greatest achievements in box office history, establishing numerous benchmarks that continue to influence the global film industry while solidifying Avengers: Endgame as one of the most successful motion pictures ever produced. Avengers: Endgame received universal acclaim from critics upon its release and has since been widely recognized as one of the greatest superhero films ever made, as well as one of the most ambitious and emotionally satisfying blockbuster productions in cinematic history. Critics praised the film for successfully concluding more than a decade of interconnected storytelling across the Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU, bringing together narrative threads established in over 20 previous films while delivering a deeply emotional, character-driven finale to the Infinity Saga. Particular acclaim was directed toward Anthony and Joe Russo's confident direction, Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely's screenplay, the film's balance of humor, action, spectacle, and heartfelt drama, Alan Silvestri's powerful musical score, the visual effects, and the performances of its ensemble cast, especially Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Scarlett Johansson, Chris Hemsworth, Mark Ruffalo, Jeremy Renner, Josh Brolin, and Paul Rudd. Many critics considered Endgame not only a fitting sequel to Avengers: Infinity War, 2018, but also an extraordinary achievement in long-form franchise storytelling, praising its ability to reward audiences who had followed the MCU since Iron Man, 2008, while still functioning as an emotionally engaging standalone blockbuster. The film's themes of sacrifice, redemption, grief, family, hope, legacy, and perseverance were also highlighted as key reasons why it resonated so strongly with both critics and audiences around the world. On the review aggregation website Rotten Tomatoes, Avengers: Endgame holds an approval rating of 94% based on 551 professional reviews, with an average rating of 8.2 out of 10, reflecting overwhelming critical approval. The website's critical consensus states, "Exciting, entertaining, and emotionally impactful, Avengers: Endgame does whatever it takes to deliver a satisfying finale to Marvel's epic Infinity Saga." Many reviewers praised the film's ability to combine spectacular large-scale action sequences with intimate emotional moments, noting that despite its nearly 3-hour runtime, it maintained dramatic momentum through its strong focus on character relationships and emotional resolution rather than non-stop spectacle. On Metacritic, which assigns a weighted average based on reviews from leading publications, the film received a score of 78 out of 100 from 57 critics, indicating generally favorable reviews. Audience reception proved even more enthusiastic than the critical response. Viewers surveyed by CinemaScore awarded the film a rare A+ grade on an A+ to F scale, making it only the third Marvel Studios film at a time to receive the distinction after The Avengers, 2012, and Black Panther, 2018. Likewise, audiences surveyed by PostTrack gave the film a perfect 5 out of 5 stars, while 85% of moviegoers stated they would definitely recommend it, demonstrating exceptionally strong word of mouth and audience satisfaction. The overwhelmingly positive reception from both critics and general audiences helped establish Endgame as one of the highest-rated and most celebrated entries in the MCU. Many reviewers described the Russo brothers' direction as an extraordinary balancing act, successfully managing one of the largest ensemble casts ever assembled in a feature film while ensuring that each of the original Avengers received meaningful emotional development and satisfying narrative closure. Critics praised the directors for resisting the temptation to overwhelm viewers with constant action, instead allowing quieter, character-focused scenes to explore grief, guilt, failure, and hope following the devastating events of Avengers: Infinity War. Numerous reviews noted that the film's first half adopted a slower, more reflective pace than most superhero blockbusters, enabling audiences to reconnect with the surviving heroes before building toward one of the largest and most ambitious climaxes ever filmed. Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely's screenplay was widely praised for its emotional maturity, carefully structured narrative, witty dialogue, and inventive use of time travel. Although the story's time travel mechanics generated discussion among some reviewers, many applauded the writers for using the concept primarily as a storytelling device to revisit pivotal moments from earlier MCU films, creating a celebration of the franchise's history while simultaneously giving long-running characters opportunities for emotional growth and personal redemption. Critics also highlighted the screenplay's successful blend of comedy, nostalgia, suspense, and tragedy, allowing the film to shift naturally between humorous exchanges, emotional reunions, devastating sacrifices, and exhilarating action without losing narrative coherence. Among the most widely praised aspects of the film were its performances, with Robert Downey Jr.'s portrayal of Tony Stark receiving universal acclaim and frequently being described as the emotional centerpiece of the entire film. Critics praised Downey for delivering one of the strongest performances of his career, portraying Stark's evolution from a self-centered billionaire in Iron Man, 2008, to a devoted husband, father, and ultimately self-sacrificing hero whose final decision became one of the MCU's defining moments. Chris Evans also received widespread praise for his nuanced portrayal of Steve Rogers, whose storyline provided a satisfying conclusion to the character's journey through themes of duty, sacrifice, and finally personal happiness. Scarlett Johansson was commended for giving Natasha Romanoff one of her most emotionally complex portrayals, while Chris Hemsworth earned praise for presenting a more vulnerable version of Thor that explored trauma, depression, guilt, and self-worth in a manner rarely seen in superhero cinema. Mark Ruffalo's Professor Hulk performance was appreciated for successfully merging Bruce Banner's intelligence with the Hulk's strength, while Jeremy Renner's darker portrayal of Clint Barton reflected the devastating emotional consequences of the snap. Josh Brolin's performance as Thanos continued to receive acclaim for giving the villain depth, conviction, and menace despite relying heavily on motion capture technology. Paul Rudd was repeatedly singled out for injecting warmth and humor into the story through Scott Lang, whose optimism served as a catalyst for the Avengers' plan to reverse the snap. Numerous critics praised Endgame for functioning as both an epic blockbuster and an emotional farewell to the original Avengers. Glenn Weldon of NPR described the film as an immensely rewarding sequel that wisely focused on the emotional experiences of the surviving Avengers rather than simply attempting to surpass its predecessor in spectacle. He called the film an extended celebration of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, noting that nearly every significant character introduced over the previous decade was given an opportunity to shine, making the experience particularly rewarding for longtime fans. Peter Travers of Rolling Stone awarded the film 4 out of 5 stars, praising its emotional resonance, energetic pacing, spectacular action, and playful approach to time travel, particularly its willingness to humorously acknowledge and parody familiar science fiction tropes through repeated references to films such as Back to the Future. Peter Debreuge of Variety described Endgame as an emotionally rewarding finale that celebrated fan loyalty while successfully delivering a satisfying conclusion to Marvel Studios' unprecedented serialized storytelling experiment. J.R. Kinnard of Pop Matters hailed the film as one of the finest achievements in blockbuster filmmaking, praising its ability to combine intimate character drama with massive visual spectacle. Todd McCarthy of The Hollywood Reporter argued that despite its enormous visual effects and large-scale action, the film's greatest strength lay in its character acting, singling out Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Mark Ruffalo, Chris Hemsworth, Josh Brolin, and Paul Rudd for particularly memorable performances. Richard Roeper of the Chicago Sun-Times also awarded the film 4 stars, applauding its emotional impact, expertly paced screenplay, confident direction, and consistently excellent ensemble performances. Several critics emphasized that Endgame succeeded because it prioritized emotional storytelling over visual spectacle. A.O. Scott of the New York Times described the film as a fitting conclusion to Marvel Studios' unprecedented cinematic experiment, praising its ability to provide audiences with a genuine sense of closure while recognizing that the MCU itself would continue with future stories. Justin Chang of the Los Angeles Times argued that although the film occasionally fell just short of complete emotional catharsis, it nonetheless earned its climactic emotional payoff through years of care.